Hello and welcome to Friends of the Force. I'm your host, Sarah.
And I'm your host, Brad.
And today we are so excited to be joined by our friend, Mollie. Say hello to the people,
Hello.
Mollie.
I am a friend of the Force.
That's right. And we are going on an adventure today as friends out into the great unknown of a conversation that we haven't had yet, because we are talking about the season that just aired of Skeleton Crew. Yay, Neel. Yay, Wim. Yay, Fern. Yay, KB. And we're going to talk about all our faves and the whole season because we did not cover it on an episode by episode basis. It was kind of a busy time in our lives and I was tired. And so because of that, we kind of skipped it over the holiday season. So here we are just to have a casual conversation about the season as a whole. And yeah, that's the intro you got from me today, Brad.
I'm also tired. You said you were tired. I'm also tired. I need my tired as well. We're all tired.
Okay,
Mollie,
I was
are you
trying
tired?
to take the blame a little bit, but
I am very alert.
We're gonna spread the blame. We're all tired.
See,
Mollie was
she's
the
good.
most tired. That's why we took so long to record.
No, stop. We're not blaming this on Mollie. Let's be
Totally
so
kidding.
clear right
Mollie's
here.
actually, she's innocent. We're
Yeah, I
guilty,
just woke
Sarah
up.
and I. Yeah.
Yeah, don't
Mollie
don't
just woke
place
up
the
from
blame
like
on our
a
guest.
she woke up from a 4-month nap and she goes, "What happened?"
Another Star Wars show.
Yeah, we're talking about
That's
the
right.
new we're here, Friends, talking about the Friends show with some kid friends, and Mollie said she's a friend of the Force. We're really synergized on the Friends of the Force synergy machine tonight. I really
That's
love
right.
that. I love
That's
the theme
right.
of
I like to
friendship.
think I'm a friend
Yeah.
of the Force, or that the Force is my friend too. So
I know. Yeah. The Force is with all of us, hopefully. Okay. Yeah, but no, Skeleton Crew, we're talking about it. We're doing live commentary of all 8 episodes starting now. So Mollie, hope you got your Disney Plus pulled up. And
I'm
we're
watching
gonna go
it right
through.
now.
Yeah, we're backlogging all 8 weeks of the episodes we didn't record. Technically 7 because it was a 2-parter at the beginning.
Right. I've got
yeah.
snacks to my left, my water to my right, and I'm just like locked in, ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Okay. Mollie, welcome back. We had you on the Bad Batch, which was like a year ago, like or something.
no,
Maybe 2 years ago.
no,
I don't even remember. No, it was a year ago because Bad Batch
Wow.
happened last year. We talked about what the first 3 episodes.
That's insane.
Yeah.
A year.
The time moves.
So wait, it's been that long since we had any Star Wars animated series, like anything. Look, I'm ready for Visions 2. I'm ready for Visions 3.
There's 3.
Yes,
Yeah, me
Visions
too.
3.
We
But
did get Young Jedi Adventures, but that was, definitely on the younger animated side. But
Mhm.
I do love Young Jedi Adventures. They are the sweetest, babiest, loveliest, precious beans ever. I love them. So Nubs Nation, never die. Nubs Nation lives
Nubs
on
Nation.
forever.
meet up at Celebration. I expect everyone there in their
That's
blue.
right.
They love their blue characters, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. And also like blue
Yes.
characters that have the name or the letter N. I know Niku's not blue, he's green, but like Niku, Neel,
Blue adjacent.
Nubs,
Those are the loves of my life right there.
New Gunray.
New Gunray?
He's
I
kind
mean,
of
he's like-
bluish,
yeah, he's
green.
kind of
He's like
blue.
teal. Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. Huh.
What a legend.
I'm gonna
Blue
I'm gonna go on Blue Sky and post like I love when Star Wars is somewhat blue, somewhat green characters, and I'm just gonna post and see how many likes I can farm in like 24 hours.
But you got to tweet it like, I wish I had, followers that would just, I don't know how that tweet format works. So I'm really killing the joke right now, but
Yeah.
it's like, I wish I had enough followers that loved XYZ thing so when I tweeted, XYZ thing is life, like everybody would like it. And then everybody replies and they're like real.
like this if I just love Star Wars.
Right.
I've never seen that
Like,
tweet
like,
before
like.
ever. Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna my next post is gonna be you are the head of Lucasfilm for one day. What teal character do you create with the letter N? Starting with the letter N.
No, that's really
Please do.
good. You
Please
should do
do.
some synergy and like tweet that as this episode drops.
I will.
And then And then everybody can go back in your Twitter timeline when they're listening to this in the future after the episode drops. And they can be like, wow, this synergy was really synergizing.
Yeah. No, so good. So good. So good. So Skeleton Crew, Mollie.
Hi.
I want to start with you because you're our esteemed guest. How did you feel? How did you feel about Skeleton Crew? Overall thoughts? How do you feel about the show compared to other Star Wars content that we've got? How's your journey been with the show?
I loved it. Controversial take is that, and I said this as publicly as you would consider the sort of like defunct Twitter app to be. I did say that I found Skeleton Crew to be pretty much like the only one that, other than Andor, that I feel comfortable recommending to non-Star Wars fans. And I mean that like as a positive, because I would say like 98% of my real life friends, they don't care about Star Wars. They don't really want to get into it. And they've pretty much only seen the movies. But I did manage to get some of them to watch Andor, and they loved it. And I think Skeleton Crew is just like, it's great for, it's low stakes and it's fun. And we really needed a show like this right now. So I thought the whole thing was a lot of fun, predictable, but like you kind of need that from a kids oriented show. Like this felt like a true, like family friendly show. And as much as I love Acolyte, that wasn't the same vibe. I would not have recommended Acolyte to just anyone. So I really like having another sort of subgenre in Star Wars kind of up for offering to, people who are just casual fans or don't really go here.
Yeah, no, there's so much to love about the show. And I love your point that it's accessible. And I think, objectively, this show is like one of the most accessible Star Wars shows. Anybody can jump in, like you said. Same with Andor, like you said. So I totally agree with that. Sarah, what about you? You just ended up binging like kind of all 8 episodes all together, which I think is a cool way to watch it, like having the whole story.
I'm jealous.
So coming into that, watching it through, like what are your takeaways from the show?
Yeah, so I have to caveat that just a little bit because Brad and I watched the first episode together, and I didn't love the first episode. It didn't really work for me, and so I kind of decided that I didn't really want to watch it week to week and was just gonna wait until the end. And then he texted me halfway through and was like, "This episode is all about Neel, and it's the greatest thing I've ever seen, and I need you to watch it." So we watched that, and I loved that episode. So I was like, well, that bodes well. But yeah, I then went back and watched essentially episodes 2 through 8. And now we're here. And I thought it was really nice by the end of it. I thought, that this was a really sweet show, and the characters, they're all very darling, and I really do love them. By episode 8, like we're doing a little battle. There's some pirates. I was like, I texted Brad and I was like, very resistance, because it did feel like they kind of jumped out of the animation in that way. And that is not me suggesting that live action is better than animation. Kind of in that statement, but I felt the same kind of energy that I get from the Resistance crew coming together as the Skeleton Crew here. Coming together, and I really liked that. I thought the story throughout had like really fun moments. Like the whole Spot episode is great.
I love that one.
Like, so ridiculous.
Great. It's also
I was so happy.
It's so good, and it's also just like it adds texture to the Star Wars galaxy in a way that we don't always get to see. Because it's exposing people to like the same corner of the world of the galaxy that Canto Bight does, and I think that that's really interesting. But I also I love that location. Like the characters were cool, the ships were cool. We can talk about my hate for John and Elwood as this episode goes on. But yeah, I thought it was enjoyable. I have some questions after the end of it. I don't know if those questions will ever be answered with another season or anything like that, but I have some questions about the future of At Attin. But I think there's a lot of interesting lore within At Attin itself, with the great work and the mint. There's some really interesting threads to pull on that when the show started I really didn't expect. So I am glad that I was a little bit wrong about the show. I'm glad that my opinion has changed on it a bit. Is it like a favorite of mine? I don't think so, but is it something that I could easily return to, like if I just need to throw something on or just wanted to return to these characters? I think yes. Like for me, like going back and watching Andor, like I'm planning on an Andor rewatch, but that's going to be like, I'm going to sit down and watch Andor. And it's like serious business for me, you know, like, cause it's kind of a serious business show, but this is something that is much more casual. And I feel like I can just, hey, I want some Star Wars on in the background, something that's a little lighter and friendlier. This is something that's really great to throw on. And that wouldn't make me sad. So I'll take it.
I'll take anything that doesn't make me sad. And this one, thankfully, I know there's some sad moments, but I thought it's very much not intentionally heavy the way that a lot of other Star Wars is. And I think like Rebels is usually the one that would be put on that, or like Last Jedi are usually my background ones, maybe Revenge of the Sith. But I think you're right. This would be like my number one recommendation as like a background show.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that like, to not be like, oh, it's not good on the watch. I'm saying that it's a comfortable rewatch. It's a comfortable thing to be in presence with, I guess, if that makes sense. Whereas, you know, my attention might be caught in other ways by other shows or movies, or if I watch Acolyte, like I'm gonna be really upset once we get to episode 5 and all my faves are dead. So.
It's nice to not have that for once. It's nice to not have it for once.
And it's really nice too, because one of the things that I loved about Resistance by the end of it is the sense of family, and like the Dozas, me plus the Dozas, like Dozas, the loves of my lives. The Dozas should be Easter egg dropped everywhere is all I'm saying. They're so interesting. But I love the way that the parents really came together with the kids too. We don't see like a ton of them throughout the show, but I love these parents too. And that was just really nice too. It makes me feel like it's an easy show to watch as families. And I just think we need more parents in the Star War. So this was great. I loved the parents in the Star War.
Yeah. And hey, we made it through with no dead moms. That's impressive. And we had 2 moms for 1 kid in the show. Fantastic. Love
we got
that.
Extra moms.
So we got extra moms that could have died. Like we really batted like, what was it? Like 4 for 4. Like we Neel's mom, Fern's mom, and then KB's moms. Like love that. 4 moms that made it. Star Wars. I'm gonna go buy a lottery ticket. Oh my gosh. No, Sarah, to your point about so many moms that could have died and didn't. Thank gosh. No, but I love the show too. And Sarah, this is why I was like trying to get you like to watch it, because I started to realize just like how Resistance coded it was. And like, you know, Wim and Neel were giving like, you know, Kaz and Niku, and I really liked that parallel. And just, yeah, the sense of like community and like found family. I know we like say that and it feels like very cliche at this point, like talk about found family as if it's a new concept to Star Wars, but like I feel like the show did it really well. And also just, yeah, the parallel journeys of the parents kind of coming together as well as the kids, and like, you know, these friendships forming. And then at the end of the series or the season, the whole community of At Attin coming together and like fighting for their neighbor, you know, like they're all getting shepherded into the streets by pirates, and then, you know, once the New Republic shows up, they're like, fight the pirates, get them out of here, you know? And that was pretty cool to see, you know, fight back against the oppressors. But to your point too, of like you're saying like, you know, it's not like your most favorite thing ever of all time, right? And like, I think that's perfectly okay, because I just feel like in all media nowadays, and especially Star Wars and just like big IPs, we put so much pressure on everything to be like better than the last thing we saw. And it's like, can we keep doing that realistically for everything? Like, is everything going to have to keep topping the thing before it. And like, I don't think anything's gonna be Andor, but like I think it's
unlimited capitalism.
right. And
I
that's
thought you
the
were gonna
thing
say
is
Kaz.
like you keep trying, like, you know, like Disney's trying to keep finding like the next big hit. And it's like you get a show like The Acolyte and it has some really interesting things that you can continue exploring,
Yeah.
and then you cancel it because it's not the best top 10 show ever. But like it's the second most watched thing on Disney Plus last year, right? And so likewise here, I think it's totally acceptable to have a show like Skeleton Crew that is geared for kids, kid heavy cast, that's their show, and it's fine,
And it
and it's a lot of
contributes.
fun, and it's okay to just be good and be good at what you're trying to do. And that's why I just appreciated the show, is like it knew what it wanted to do, it had a personality, it had an angle, it stuck to that, it didn't allow cameos to take over, and it executed, and it stuck the landing. And like even if it's just one season, I'd be sad, but like pretty great self-contained fun journey. Sorry I rambled there, but like it's okay for things to be okay.
Like I just think because it's canon, right? So I
Yeah.
love anything that contributes to expanding the universe. And I don't know, just we've had like one cameo, and that was pretty much, and nobody caught it until watching the credits. And I just love that because I used to like really, really love those cameos shoehorned in, and now it's so nice to not have that and not have big surprises. Like we already knew going into Skeleton Crew that there weren't going to be any like plot twist cameos. There weren't going to be too many callbacks to established canon. And you know, in the same way that like Mando has done, and a lot of other projects start to do. But I just, it was like very comforting knowing that, okay, even though I have to keep waiting for the next episode and it leaves you on a cliffhanger, I'm glad to know that it does end. It's not going to end on some giant cliffhanger and like Acolyte, because we can leave it at one season. And I think it's okay. Like you should have other shows and other mediums of like types of shows, like animation and everything that contribute to the lore building. So I don't know if we'll ever get a project like this again. And I think that makes me appreciate it a lot more. And to what you guys were saying about, you know, parents too. I mean, that's one of my favorite things. Winston he was just like cracking me up by the end. I mean, I feel like there were some very relatable moments and characters in this show that I don't necessarily feel outside of maybe like animation. So maybe because it feels so much like Star Wars animated series, maybe that's why I found it so effortlessly enjoyable. Just very low stakes, even though it's very high stakes for the characters, very low stakes as a viewer. And I need that sometimes. I can't be like locked in, hyper focused, looking for Easter eggs for everything.
100%. Yeah. And also like
I don't enjoy
us not
it.
covering it, Sarah, was kind of enjoyable because it was like the first show in a really long time. I was like, I can just enjoy this as a viewer. And like, I don't have to like, we don't have to like make a thing about it, like talk about it. It's just like, I can just be a fan. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice to just enjoy things and not be like zoned in, like you're saying. Like this show didn't take itself so seriously, right? Like it had fun. I think that's also like, you know, John Watts and Christopher Ford, like also having fun, and, you know, they've done a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah, I also think that like it exists so separate from the rest of the canon. Like it's so free because it doesn't rely on these cameos and things, and it could have tied into a lot more of the canon that we know on a day-to-day basis and still felt like it was its own thing. But I'm glad that it didn't, because all it requires you to know, and I think you're totally right, Molly, about what you said right in the beginning, which is like, this is a really easy show to recommend to anybody, casuals, people who don't go here, you know, anything. Because all you need to know is like have a regular person's understanding of the Jedi, which is like they're kind of these lightsaber wielding dudes and gals, and like that's who they are. And you just kind of got to know that it takes place in a galaxy far, far away, and that's really it. you don't need to know a single other thing about Star Wars in order to kind of just dive into that show, which I thought was really nice. And although the kind of suburban, like the very American suburbia setting, I really didn't like. I'll be so honest and upfront about that.
My favorite.
And I totally understand the exact nostalgia and heartstrings it's going for, and I get it. It just like didn't work for me personally. That being said, like I do appreciate that, like it kind of just gave us something completely new to Star Wars in that regard too. So it, you know, it is what it is. It's kind of this fun
Valid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always feel weird saying this show is like super innovative because it is, like you said, like very self-referential of a time when, like, you know, the 80s, Amblin movies, E.T., like that time period is like where Star Wars was created from. So it's like the show is fresh, but it's like basically calling back and evoking the emotions of the late 70s and early 80s. But at the same time, I think like there are so many other great things about this show that, like, once you get past that first episode and you're now in the world of you're experiencing these new places in the galaxy just alongside the kids, these new planets, these new places and people and, you know, pirate gangs, like there's so much new stuff on top of that. And I think that's like almost symbolic in a way of like, you know, At Attin is a planet that's hidden from the rest of the galaxy. And there's like comfort in that. And there's like a calmness of just like being comfortable and not seeking things that are different. Likewise, it's like kind of meta in a way of like, hey, if you grew up and you love the original trilogy of Star Wars and that's all you ever want to know about Star Wars and you're just going to focus on that, it's like, sure, you could have a good life, but it's like, don't you want to experience so many other great stories in the Star Wars galaxy? Like, be open-minded, you know? And so it's like us, it's like the kids venturing outside of the original trilogy, I guess. It's like that.
That's a good way to
It's
look
like,
at it, though. No, that makes perfect sense, though. I mean, that's at least arguably for me, one of the biggest limitations of just sticking with the films is that you don't get to see more of the galaxy. And that is such an important, if you make it important in your viewership, I think that's like one of the coolest things about Star Wars is the world building, at least for me. So I was excited just to see the suburban homes and the cul-de-sac, because I grew up on a cul-de-sac. So I was super hyped up. At the same time, I had a friend text me saying, this is really taking me out of it. So I get it. It's not for like, I totally understand it. You're not wrong in any way for seeing it that way either. I think for me, I was just like, I felt so limited by, you know, only getting 6 planets sometimes in each movie, if that. And I always want to explore them more, and we may not ever revisit them again. So it just was super cool to me that we had such an established homestead, I guess, in At Attin. So, I mean, it was wild to me that they can't even leave the planet, but then there's all this unexplored part to it in the woods. But then I guess I don't know, it just like had me thinking that's totally normal that you wouldn't leave your planet because none of us are leaving it. So it's not in Star Wars. We were used to them just like planet hopping easily. And I don't know, it's just nice and comforting to kind of stick around a little bit longer and have it rooted in this one place other than maybe a rebel base or something or a ship. You know, the ship is integral to the story, of course, but I don't know, just it was nice. And I want to explore the inside, the interiors of the home so much. I think that was the only time I was pausing was when I was trying to look at the artwork and was like, looks familiar to me, which is, I think, the only Easter egg I'm really like able to call back to, but if it was one. But I want to look at the architecture. I want to look at the tables and the chairs and everything. I thought it was all so cool and different and sleek, kind of like a Restoration Hardware sort of vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
know, I
Actually,
really like
I
that.
even though like suburbia didn't hit for me, the interiors of the homes definitely did hit for me.
They were
will say.
nice.
They were cool, and I really also thought the murals were really, really interesting. And then also when we get to Wim's dad's like workplace. I thought the architecture of that space was really cool too, because it calls back to places like the Jedi Library and parts of Coruscant and what we can identify as Republic without being the same exact architecture styles. It's not brutalist exactly, but it's kind of got some of those shapes that you can identify. It's really interesting. And I did think that was really interesting, and it felt so clean and preserved because they've been so secluded, because they've just kind of been living their society. I'm sorry, I watched Silo a couple weeks ago. I was like 6 episodes into the show, and I was like, this is so Silo. But if Silo were a family show for children, like, which let me tell you, it's not.
No, really I'm too scared to watch it.
No, it's so good. But we'll talk about it later. It's so good. But I kind of got that vibe too. But I think, Mollie, you also make a great point about like they're just there, and we think about planet hopping is so popular, but the reality is probably most citizens across the galaxy never leave their planet. Like if we think about the reality of what that means and how much time you'd spend away from your home, probably most people aren't transient like that. And so there's value in exploring kind of one place or having a particular route in one place that is so populated and that also feels so settled, because like Coruscant feels it's very fast paced. Planets like Tatooine, there's like 12 people who live there.
I was just thinking about Tatooine and just like how miserable everyone is.
But like, of course there are planets that are kind of like this, that where most of their population sticks around, where they're just worried about their local, quote unquote local, as if an entire planet is local, but like worried about their local issues, and that sort of stuff. And like there's space in the galaxy for that too. So yeah, it's the more I think about it, the more interesting it gets. But also just At Attin and all the other At planets. I have some questions about that naming, but like it's fine. Like, why are we all going At Attin this entire time? At blah blah blah. Like, what was that? But it's fine.
I love the fact also, just real quick tangent, like At Attin, like the long debate of like AT-AT versus At like, and I think Sky Talkers, I think Charlotte actually asked like Christopher Ford and John Watts that question, and they were like, I don't think we realized that, but yeah, that's great.
Oh no.
So that's fantastic.
LOL.
But we're talking a lot about like, home and leaving home. And I think there's this really good quote from Fern, which is, it sort of like sums up the whole theme of the show, which is, the galaxy is scary and dangerous. Everywhere we went, even the worst places, there were good people too, people that can help us. And like, I think that just like, again, like kind of, you can kind of like sacrifice sort of the adventure within you if you want to like sacrifice that in the name of like safety. And it's kind of like, At Attin is sort of like promising these people the illusion of safety, right? Like, oh, the galaxy's dangerous, like you can't leave the barrier, blah blah blah, and as soon as the kids leave the barrier and they see the beauty of the stars, they're like, oh my god, like what the heck, this is amazing. And I love the moment in the finale when that barrier comes apart and everybody's on the street seeing the stars, and so just that idea of like the illusion of safety and kind of like not leaving your home because you're scared, so to speak. And, you're telling the people it's scary and dangerous, but like if they did venture out, like, yeah, there could be bad things that happen, but like think of all the amazing people and all the amazing places you could see if you venture outside of your doorstep, and like they met Kim and they went to the Skull Ridge Mountain, and they saw Plagueis taking a little spa bath, in the mud. So, and they didn't even know it was Plagueis. He was there the whole time. He's just getting ready for the Last Jedi to be Snoke. He's just moisturizing his skin. I'm actually back up my Plagueis to Snoke theory again, because actually Plagueis could never go back to Skull Ridge Mountain and he stopped moisturizing and then he became Snoke. Anyways. New theory, new canon.
The logic is really sound.
They're not going to tie those loose ends. I mean,
yeah. But what did you guys make of that quote from Fern? And I think that was like a really, really beautiful quote, especially like talking to her mom and telling her like what she learned about the galaxy.
I love it. It reminded me immediately of Fred Rogers' Look to the Helpers. That's, and that's a great message. So yes, 2 thumbs up from Sarah.
2 thumbs up from me too. I think it was akin to, it almost is like I have to be one of the few people who just isn't here for the the thing at the I can't think of the word for it, but at the start of each is it Rebels or is it Clone Wars or is it both? With the lesson that you are supposed to learn. So it has like the quote before each episode.
Like the epigraph.
Yes, thank you. I could not think of what it is. And I think that that's kind of what that quote does, but it's not like in a way that you're, you know, or it's forced on you each time there's a lesson that you are supposed to learn. I think there's a lot of lessons in the show and they didn't overwhelm the viewer with them, which I appreciate because I just tend to watch things and just let's see what happens here. So even with those little, quotes, I don't know. I would say for me, maybe the show is not as quotable as others, but that could also just be me taking in the world building and then the music, because I would say this is like the music is so like I don't want to not mention how much I love the music uh for the show. Like I thought that was just so fun and really whimsical and wonderful. And so it's capturing, I guess, exactly what Fern was saying too. Like everything just tied together so nicely. So it's like even if the quotes they're not as impactful as me. I was like, yeah, it's a great quote. And now I'm like talking myself out of it. But I think it's just because I don't always benefit from learning a lesson, I guess, when I'm watching. And I have to take that from either the music or someone else's arc that they're not necessarily focusing on. Like, I can't say that I always take away something from every Star Wars show, and it doesn't make me feel a certain very strong emotion. And if it's not doing it with like quotes or something, then hopefully like the score is or the world building. And I'm like, okay, well, this checks some of the boxes for me. So that was great. And yeah, I don't know if any of that made sense. So apologies.
The performances as well. Like even if the show is not quotable, the way that the kids, like these kid actors are doing such an amazing job.
Oh, they were fantastic.
Like the amount of times they cried, which was like felt authentic. So even if it's not quotable, we're not getting Neel talking about how he's made his mind a sunless space. Like that's okay, like
Neel shares his dreams with ghosts.
Instead, he's talking about his slap ball. Like I want to hear more about the slap ball. Neel, like show me.
I got very excited. I want to hear more about slap ball.
They need to make a slap ball like show. Like they need to have like an ESPN version of Star Wars where it's just like. It's like a 5
that sounds
episode
very holiday special.
Yeah, like 5 episode miniseries. Like Forky asks a question, but it's like Star Wars animation, and it's just Star Wars sports. It's just Star Wars sports.
I would love that.
Okay,
so I was like,
no. I'm saying that's the greatest idea ever, and I want to build upon it because I also want like the Star Wars. We have the channels. Let's say we're looking at the TV guide. We're at the channels, and there's like the Star Wars sports channel, and then there's the Star Wars music channel, and we can listen to Scatterbop. And all these and Rec Punk and all my favorite music genres out of Star Wars. And I think, and then we can watch our movies and then we can watch the HoloNet news.
Reality
and then
shows.
We can watch reality shows, Jedi romances. I love it. Like, yes.
I heard the Ryan Gosling potential and like Star Wars movie, and I'm like, listen, if they make a Star Wars comedy with Ryan Gosling, like at least they made a comedy. At least they tried. Give me some new things.
I would love anything. That's why I think that's part of why I really enjoyed Skeleton Crew though, because it's pirates and it's fun and it's just so different. And it really does. I hate using the word fresh. It really does feel that way. And it's doing what a lot of other franchises or IP do and ventures into different. It's kind of like, why I enjoyed the first Ant-Man so much, because it felt so different from all the other Marvel movies, and why there's very like, and then you look at like Pirates of the Caribbean, and they took a lot of risks with like the different scores that they had for each movie. There, some of them are just very distinct, and I could talk about that like for hours. And so that is kind of like the same thing with this show. And it's like you were saying, Sarah, like having all those channels. I've been asking for a Real Housewives or a Gossip Girl or West Wing kind of show for ages, knowing it's not going to happen. But
no, you got to keep asking. You got to keep asking because like my prayers have kind of have been slowly answered, and so if it can happen for me, it can happen for anyone. When I was like Bail Organa political thriller book, and then this series like Reign of the Empire came out, and I was like, they did it for me. And then The Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire by Chris Kempshall, which I was like, I want to read the Star Wars white papers. I want to read the academic works. And so that is literally that. Like it's a kind of a history.
Yeah.
Like you just gotta be like loud and annoying about it. Maybe we'll get it one day because I think we deserve it. I think we as a fandom deserve the Star Wars reality TV.
Well, no, I mean, it's a lot like Wim's stories too, that he was, I mean, that has to be another aspect of the show that I was just like so entranced by, were those, I guess those projections on his data pad, and how fantastical the stories were and how beautiful they were. And yeah, he's like experiencing his own little channel or whatever within Star Wars. It's kind of the same as, watching the holiday special. I don't know. It's just, I would really love them to build off of some of what we saw in Skeleton Crew, as far as not just world building, but like those stories. I want to know more about how did he get, who wrote those? How did he get those stories? Are they ones that like everybody knows? How did he download them if they're cut off from everyone? I mean, we probably won't ever get that. So I would settle for just more fun planets, honestly. Like it's just so fun. Like Canto Bight, that's exactly what I said too. When I think it was with the spa planet, I was like, this feels very Canto Bight, and Canto Bight is like one of my favorite planets of all time, or Cantonica.
So good. I'm such a fan.
So good. But yeah, I wish they had made merchandise or some like more merchandise or something. They really did not lean into the merchandise with this. I kept checking at Disneyland for stuff, nothing, and was
That's
really bummed
wild.
out because yeah, I really thought that they would at least do more pins or do, I don't know. There's just so much they could have done with it, especially with the pirate imagery too. No flags or anything.
Yeah.
And I was really disappointed in
I
that.
saw like
Everybody
people
loves
got
pirates.
flags. Like people got flags in the mail from Lucasfilm. I'm like, why are we just not selling the flag?
I still want the
You know,
Acolyte
like-
blanket too. So
Yeah.
at Lucasfilm, I will pay
Don't
money
let
for the
Arzu hear
Acolyte.
that.
I'll pay money for the
She wants
Acolyte
that blanket.
I'll pay money for it because I have a Attack of the Clones one, and I have a Rogue One. I will pay for another.
They used to
Give me
make
the
blankets for
Skeleton Crew
everything.
one, the Resistance one. I want them all. The Last Jedi one.
I don't understand it. It's so weird. Like it felt like they just were not investing into it as much, and it's just so strange because this was such a marketable show, and not to push capitalism on everyone, but I like merchandise and I wanted more merchandise. I thought that there were tons of things in the show that they could have, like make collectible gold bars or something. I don't know. There just wasn't enough. And
We did get a Neel Black series at least. That's the most important thing.
I don't want
Although
Black Series.
No, but he's so cute. But
I should say,
like,
though,
I'm not a Black
yes.
Series person either, but he's so cute.
He's so cute. But to your
Yeah, he's
point,
pretty
like we
cute.
shouldn't
Pretty
just
cute.
be doing Funkos and Black Series every time. Like I want some plushies. Like where's the Neel plushie? You know, like
I have so much Nubs stuff, like the plushies that they did for Nubs. I am looking over at my Jackie Black Series, and I'm like, I wish there was more. We've really just been lacking, and I don't know. I mean, Skeleton Crew is just so fun and colorful. And why couldn't we buy Fern's jacket?
Oh my God.
so
Oh my
many
God.
opportunities. So many opportunities. Although
Yeah.
like Star Wars merch, that could be a whole episode. I will be honest.
Ugh,
There should
yeah,
be more
no,
merch.
same.
Let's do more variety of merch, please. But
Like KB's
100%.
visor too.
oh yeah, so many,
Like visor sunglasses.
so many good ideas. Ugh.
I also want to jump back. You're like, not to push capitalism on everyone, but as like all three of us are like directly like in our backgrounds are bookshelves full of merchandise.
Full of stuff that
Oh,
we don't
yeah,
need.
All of our Star Wars and trinkets and things. I do want to jump back just for a minute because you mentioned the music, and I also really wanted to highlight the music because I will not lie to you. When I heard that there was another Giacchino that was hired for this one, I was like, that's nepotism.
I know. I think all of us were.
That's
right?
That's nepotism / negative connotation. And
Yes.
I was wrong. It might still be nepotism, but I was so thrilled with this score. I thought it had so much heart and so much like whimsy and just levity to the score. It felt like we were doing we talked to this a bit ago as well, and I'm now weaving a couple of things, but like even though the suburbia itself felt plucked straight out of kind of that very specific era of nostalgia of like around the 80s, and then with the Star Wars skin on it, I felt like we did get away from that direct feeling throughout the show, and then it's like the show just gave us that feeling without having to look like it necessarily, if that makes sense. It wasn't so referential in here's the wink wink to this very specific, this very specific movie or moment that we all grew up with, even though, half the audience did not grow up with it, which is fine. But it kind of got away from that. And I felt like the score did that too, where it didn't feel like it was too Star Wars-y, where you had to know some of the other Star Wars scores if it was referencing them or whatever. But it was giving the impression, it was giving the feeling when you watch one of those classic movies that has just this sweeping, bright score to it. And I appreciated that, like, I thought of those things, but didn't feel like I was back in those things. Like we've already done this, if that makes sense. I felt,
I agree with that.
The nostalgia after kind of the first episode felt to me reverential rather than repetitive.
Yeah, to your point about the nepotism, by the way, I will say, like, if we're going to allow any nepotism in Star Wars, the Kiners and the Giacchinos.
I support score nepotism is what I've come to the conclusion of.
I'll add the Howards in there as well. I'll add the Howards because let me tell you, Bryce Dallas Howard directed another banger episode. Like, when is she getting a movie? I know that will also be nepotism, but like, let's just make it happen.
No, I'm open to it.
She's great.
Come on.
No,
she's deserved it. She's done some amazing stuff.
She makes some of the best Star Wars, and yeah, that's actually a good point. I don't know why I would love a movie from her. That would make me so happy. No, the music was, I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was going to be pretty generic, and I thought instead that it had its own distinct kind of flavor to it. Again, very Canto Bight, very whimsical and fun and fast, and felt like you were watching the Goonies, and but it didn't take you out of the story. I just found myself really, really enjoying the score, and I think probably more than some other shows that maybe I would put higher on my list of loving. And you're completely right. It's wonderful that it doesn't have all of these tiebacks to different moments in like the original trilogy or something, because if there's anything I am, it's the #1 fan of we don't need to go back to the original trilogy in our projects.
Yes,
we can keep building. We have this whole world. Like if Marvel can do it, we can do it,
Yeah. No, that end credit music though really made me want to swing my ass a bit. Like I was like I was doing a little shimmy every time. I was like, yeah.
It's so good.
That's what I always said about the Bad Batch. I always said that at the end of the Bad Batch, I'd be like, it's time to throw that ass in a circle. I'm super excited for it. Here it is. It was a bop.
Yeah, no,
you're like, I enjoyed the episode, and now I get an extra special treat. Like, I get to listen.
That's what music
listen
should
to the
be.
end credits music.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of how like the Andor episode started too, and the theme just had a new line on it or whatever. You're like, oh, interesting. I love it when music is
and
like
the smile is like,
here's a fun little thing.
I mean,
are you saying that smile just drops as the show goes on?
yes.
You're like, oh, this is serious.
This is serious.
We're talking about music making us feel all warm and fuzzy inside. I think we need to acknowledge also what's making us feel a little warm and fuzzy inside is Jude Law and his slutty little outfit. His little untucked shirt. So we got to talk about Jude Law for a sec because I would be remiss if we didn't.
Brad, you said oh gosh at some point, but you also said fuck like literally a minute into this episode. And I don't know if this is an episode for families or not for families of Friends of the Forest.
This is not. We're talking about the kids show, not kid friendly. I love Jude Law just like walking around with like little grease stained shirt, like kind of flap open, chest hair. Like I just love that like Jude Law was just being Jude Law, and I like really appreciated that. And I think he was a great character, and like he had a really interesting backstory as we started to watch it unravel. And I know there was like a lot of, is he faking it? Is he using magnets? Is he actually a Jedi? And like, I love the fact that he ended up being like an actual Jedi who, he was a kid rescued by Jedi, and then Order 66 happened. And he basically his whole life has had to survive. And he sees these kids who have had such a sheltered, easygoing life. And like, I think for part of him that like breaks something inside of him. And at the same time, like he's almost feeling this sort of like attachment, like fatherly instinct to the kids initially, because like he lacked that once Order 66 happened. Like I really want to psychoanalyze Jod Nanawad like so much, because there's just so much going on in his brain. But at the same time, he's just so good looking, and he's all like, I'm just like, dreamy man. And then the lightsaber,
I hate him so much.
Like I hate him, but I love him, and
which is a good thing, though.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he's so complex. Like he's not a one-sided villain,
because he's not a villain. He's an anti-hero.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to see more of that. Like I think on our screens from, well, especially the fallout of Order 66. I mean, can you imagine if like Kanan took that route? I guess you have to think of it as like not everyone is going to turn out like, we got to keep trying, we got to keep going, we're not all going to be Rey and not give up. Like it's nice to see. That's another like attainable aspect, or not. It's just something that I could really relate to more than I just can't relate to Jedi because I get tired. Okay. Sometimes I just get a little tired and eepy. And that's kind of what I want to see maybe in my wayward Padawan / Jedi. And I think it's okay that he ended up doing the worst stuff ever. And it wasn't like magnets, because we already saw, it's like, I think everybody was trying to figure everything out because we have seen fake Jedi, or we've seen good, big plot twists where it turns out they're good actually, or something like that. And more anti-heroes, I'm always about that. I think that that's going to appeal also to more audiences usually. And I'm okay with characters who just have no redeeming qualities too. I did not like Jod. Not a fan, not even at the end of the show. And that's okay. I think it's wonderful if something makes you feel that way about a character, not because they're poorly written or anything like that, but because they evoke a very strong reaction from you like that. So it's pretty amazing that you get that from a kid's show. I mean, because he's not one dimensional, which is, of course, something that happens in animated shows. You get a lot of one dimensional characters. Their motivations may not, like if they're quote unquote evil, their motivations are, I mean, if they exist, it's usually capitalism or something again. So it's like, this is, I mean, maybe he is motivated by that. Can't say that he wasn't excited to see the gold. I would have been pretty happy too.
When he was like, the gold was coming off the cart, and he was like, it was like drowning in the gold. And I was like, oh, he's been waiting for this moment for so damn long. And I'm like, I kind of love that for him,
He really said money would fix all my problems. And honestly, he is right about that.
Yeah.
Like,
Jod's like one of the people in the Star Wars galaxy that's like, when he hears people say like money can't make you happy, he's like, no, money will make me very happy. Like, I will be ecstatic.
I get it.
But like money does solve problems. Like, because when you have enough money, you have the time to relax, to consider things, to fix things, you know, if you encounter a problem, to fix that problem with money, you know? So like, he's totally right about that. He says, oh, this can fix my problem. The treasure here can fix the suffering I've encountered. It can fix the suffering of all the other pirates. I can clear my debt. I can clear my name. And like, that's all valid. And I think the fact that there was a lot of mystery around him whenever we'd encounter a new character and they'd give him a new name, and all these kids are like, what? Who the heck is this guy? Like, who did we get ourselves in with? Like, what's happening? I thought that was really great because it wasn't like mystery boxed, but it was mysterious. And I appreciated that there was this sense of a sense of time and space to his character. He didn't exist only in that show. It's clear that he has a long history of shit he's gotten himself into, of things that have happened to him. And I appreciate that we got all of that as he's kind of a side character. I mean, he's not like a side character, but he's not our kids. And across like less than 8 episodes, because he's really not in that first one. So I really appreciated that about him. But I have to say, I wasn't so happy about him threatening the kids and their parents with death. In episode 8, we were not on the same page about that.
Not in support of it.
I was a little bit upsetio spaghettio and was like, we are not friends. We could have been friends if you didn't do this, but like, we're definitely not friends now. And so I'm a bit of a hater. But I say that with a lot of love and not like a jixtus whenever I had to hear his voice in the audio and read his words on the page. I was like, I hate this guy. I wish he wasn't here. It's kind of just like, I love to hate Jod. And he's kind of just a very interesting character. Oh, it's not Jix. I'm sorry. I'm disparaging the porn name of Jixtus. I meant Keylori of Uandawalin.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, Jixtus is very interesting.
This is from the Thrawn trilogy for people who don't know anything that Sarah's talking about.
Which is the one that everyone told me not to read, because if I just have everybody was like, no, Mollie, it's going to be too analytical for you. You're not going to enjoy this. You're going to these lengthy descriptions. So I know all about it.
Yeah, but that series is really interesting because I really, really loved book 1, did not like book 2, but thought book 3 was really good. But they are like very dense. But I appreciated on those, sorry, I'm really derailing here. I appreciated on those is that we were getting other people's opinions about Thrawn from a third person perspective, as opposed to him being like, I saw their eyebrow twitch and I had lots of thoughts and feelings about it, for like 3 pages. But Keylori of Uandawalin was the worst and I hated him and I didn't enjoy him. Jod, however, I was like, you're the worst and I hate you. But I mean, I'm having a fun time watching this TV show right now. I'm having a fun time hating you.
Yeah.
See, good. That's good.
Jod is still somebody too. Like, even when he was being a bad guy, I was like, I kept thinking like, maybe he'll have a moment, and he just kept like digging deeper and deeper. Same. But like, the fact that I was thinking maybe he would like switch gears a little bit, like, shows that he, in my opinion, was a well-written character that wasn't just like, oh yeah, he's just gonna be bad for being bad, but like, and he ended up being that. But like, even at the very end, right, like the moment when Wim calls his name and he just kind of like looks over at the elevator, and he doesn't make a last minute throw the lightsaber through the elevator, like dramatic moment, almost killed the kid. Like, he's just like, listen, I know I kind of messed up, and now I'm gonna face the consequences. And like, to your point, Mollie, like, our Force users in the galaxy far, far away don't have to be Jedi. They don't have to be Sith. Like, sometimes they can just be kind of a dick. And that's just kind of Jod's like MO, right? Like, he's just a pirate who's kind of an ass, and he chopped off Smee's head. And, Smee came back at least, character. But he's just kind of rude. He's just kind of mean. That's okay. He can just be a jerk.
One of the best droids ever, though, I think.
Truly.
Oh, so great. No notes, except for when, didn't he get like really big at one point? It was either he got really big, or I said, why does he look so big? Is he actually growing in size? or is it that my TV is really shitty? I genuinely was not sure. Maybe a little bit of the moment of the foot Wayfinder incident plaguing me again. No, but SM30. I was about to lift my foot up and reenact it. Yes, reenact it. I have like tried to do it, but another thing I could talk about for hours is that scene.
I forgot about it.
No, I never forget about it. Trust me. I will remind everyone.
I put Tross out of my mind until somebody reminds me about something that happened. I'm like, wait a second.
Another missed merchandising opportunity is a sock with an attachment of the Wayfinder on it. But
detachable foot hand Kylo Ren figure.
God.
Yeah.
Okay.
I take it back. If I get a cameo in anything, it better be that. I want to know, or I actually don't want to know. Is it a hand or is it a foot? I don't want to know. I want
Wait,
the
you're saying the
lighting.
cameo would just exclusively be Adam Driver's hand foot? Like that's it?
Yeah.
Just randomly in the back. It's like the Addams family, like the hand that goes around, but it's just Adam Driver's hand.
That would be so good.
It's like, is it the foot? Is it the Yeah,
I
no,
feel
that's
like
real
that
good stuff.
I don't know, that trilogy is always inspiring me because now I'm like, man, I got to draw that. But SM33 I thought was like, I say this about every curmudgeonly like grumpy droid in every live action or animated series. But so maybe I could just be coming off of like I have no other Star Wars projects to currently fixate on. But I really loved SM33. I mean, of course, I did not cry because I'm like, he's gonna come back. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming back. They didn't put all this work into creating such a cool droid to not bring him back. Like Star Wars, we love the droids, you know? I wasn't worried. So I thought he was great. I love the little thing that was living in his head. I mean,
The rat. I'm such a fan.
The rat was pretty great.
I love the rat. Yeah, how cool is that? Like, I've never seen anything like that. And how inventive. I don't know. I just, if anything, I thought I would see more SM33 something because they usually really, really like, they'll make K2 merchandise out, like flying out the doors. Like they'll make so much of it. So I was hoping for something for SM33, not to bring it back to like me wanting to purchase things, but he was definitely one of my favorite parts of the show, and I would love to see him again. Or just like as an aside, I think I also said this online, but this is one of those where I would feel comfortable seeing Wim or maybe the other kids like grown up or at some point again, like kind of like an adult Omega that we got at the end of Bad Batch. I didn't hate it because I like when I'm one of those people that likes to know. I want the epilogue. I want to see what happened when they were grown up. Was the same with any certain book series that maybe we don't talk about as much anymore. I like to see the characters all grown up. So I'd be okay with it because I thought Wim was just he's just so darling. Not to steal what you said, Sarah, but like they're all darling. I would love to see them again. I would love to see Neel again too. I'm not a Neel hater. Maybe that has been going around in various groups, but I'm not a Neel hater.
Me and my text thread with Brad, Mollie hates Neel.
I want to see all the kids grown up. I agree. Like they need to be. I know they're all at Exegol. I know for a fact Wim was at Exegol for a fact because I love at the end of the show where
I also had that thought.
He is like the whole. He starts out. He's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself. Like, what's my job gonna be, right? And like, it's just like so perfect. It was like a big Broom Boy moment to like see. The Tantive 4 is Leia Organa on that as is she kind of like the emissary to At Attin, this long lost world that she now wants to bring into the Republic. So of course Leia might be like one of the first there. I'll bet you she's on that ship at the end. But her coming in and him looking up and just being like, I know what I want to do, and again like the comparison to Kazuda Xiono, right? Like Kaz has that moment in Resistance where he meets Leia, and that's when he's like, I'm all in on the Resistance, right? So I'm imagining that Wim has his holy shit, I just met Leia Organa like moment. even though he doesn't really know who Leia is unless he watched Star Wars.
Probably did. Probably did.
But I really love that. I really love that ending. I think it was just like a good moment of like, it's Wim's Star Wars story. Like he's living out his version of that, you know. And that's, again, it's cliche, but like every time it hits me in the feels, and I'm like, I can't not love it. You know, I can't not love the broom boy looking at the sky moment. It's always so good.
I did maybe shed a tear at the end of the series because it was so sweet and wonderful, and everybody came together, and I was so happy.
Oh, it's like the perfect ending. That's what I said.
That maybe happened. Maybe. Won't say yes or no, but I was really endeared to all of these little guys. They're just my little guys.
They're just little guys. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to, you know, I think we're talking a lot about kind of the series overall, and like, I want to go through like a couple things. So like, I'd love to hear everybody's favorite episode, and maybe this will be an area where we can talk about people we haven't thought of yet in this series, or haven't like gotten to talk about enough of. I can share first if that's okay. We mentioned Bryce Dallas Howard. Like, I think my favorite episode was episode number 6, which was Zero Friends Again. Because for me, this was a big KB focused episode. You know, her cybernetics are malfunctioning throughout because of the environmental corrosion, right? And so Wim helping her to fix her cybernetics, and it was like a really great episode to give some insight into like disabilities and like chronic illness. And like, I thought that was really great because like the way they handled it and the way that KB explained it to Wim, and like kind of that moment that they have, I thought was just like so touching. And again, like so often in Star Wars, like we're just so focused on like the big bang, boom, boom, boom thing. And it's like, I don't always need that.
Is that what you're going
pew,
for?
pew, pew. Yeah, I don't know.
Bing, 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 boom, boom, boom. I wish you'd said it with like a New York accent. Bada bing, bada boom.
Bing, bing, bing. You know.
And here I am going big bang, 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 bang.
Hey, I'm bing, bing, bang, booming here.
Can I bring the K-pop into this episode? Yes.
I know that song.
Oh my god, it's me when there's a small intimate moment in Star Wars and I just bust through the wall and go, "Hey, where's the big bang bang boom boom?" I don't know what's happening on this episode anymore. I just like, I've had such a work week that I just needed to be the weekend. But I just appreciate Star Wars when it just can be two people talking, and like that's good quality storytelling. And you don't feel the pressure of like, we have to have this big climactic battle. We have to have this big set piece. And like the trash crabs were super freaking sick. And like the Onyx Cinder,
I was like, we're little guys.
You know, it's like, that was awesome. And I loved that. But like, again, just like getting this moment of like KB explaining like, hey, like this is my experience in life. And like, you need to understand that. And like Wim having the understanding of like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. And just like that friendship blossoming, and then like Fern coming in later and being like, I'm so sorry. Like, it was just like a really beautiful episode. And KB's pretty cool. And she did a really noble thing in the finale where she flew the ship out. And we had a little bit of a Chewie's dead moment. No, KB is alive and well. Thank you. I will accept the fake out death here. But yeah,
we're all traumatized.
Love KB.
Agree.
Anyways, that was my favorite episode, probably, I would think.
Maybe.
I would put that up there. I'm sticking by my Spa Planet episode, which I think was the I pulled it up, episode 5. Unless I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
But I think I was just so excited to see the spa and how weird the I guess the hostess was. Like everything just felt very mysterious, and we were exploring it, and there's like this big scary creature, but it turns out he's cool. Like those are kind of like the story elements that I love. It's kind of like a super friendly Bendu or something, you know, like I love like a big friendly, but like seems like they're not friendly kind of character, even though I love the weird little guys too. So that's, there's a lot. But I also we don't have to talk at length about Brutus, but like if your eyes were following Jude Law, mine were on Brutus. And I'm going to leave it at that. You know, we did get a death in this show and it was
Yeah.
tragic. Okay. And it was Brutus and I was devastated. Okay. I wanted more Brutus.
I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's tough out here to be a Brutus fan, for sure. For sure.
I was waiting for Jude Law at some point to be like, you too, Brutus. Like, I thought they were going to go that.
Tu Brute.
Like, they really, and honestly, if you're going to have a Star Wars character named Brutus, like, you really should. Like, missed opportunity. Hashtag missed opportunity posted from Mark Campbell's account about Brutus.
What was the big guy's name? Because he's a legend, and he's like, oh, we just were telling him some stories. Chill. Oh, Tholops.
Yeah, legend. I was like, I'm not going to attempt to say it because Wallop. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Tholops. I get. Yeah, he was just so cool and weird.
Yeah, love everything about that.
Yeah, felt very like Ghibli. I never say it correctly, but like felt very like, I don't know, just another part of the whimsy. And then one thing I did want to say was about Brutus. Not that I did say I wasn't going to talk at length about Brutus, but something that he was like mostly, I think, practical effects, and he reminded me immensely of, I don't know if you ever watched the Werewolf by Night. I mean, it's fantastic. It's another one where I'm like, if you're not into Marvel, you can watch this and you don't need to know anything. It honestly doesn't have any relation to any other Marvel projects, and it's intended to be watched in black and white. And he looks very much like he's from Werewolf by Night. And I told Max that also, and he was like, yeah, totally. Like he just looks so cool. And I know he just looks like a wolf in a suit or whatever, but I don't know. It's just really cool. So I'm looking at like the description for episode 5, and I saw Brutus's name and I was like, I have to say it before I forget, because I'm going to move on to something else that I hyperfixated on. So any listeners, I highly recommend, if you haven't watched Werewolf by Night, please go watch it on Disney Plus and pray that they don't remove it, because it's like one of the best things I think Marvel has made in a while. And if you like Star Wars, I think if you like cool Star Wars, like weird kind of experimental stuff like that, that's the perfect thing to watch too. Go watch it after you watch Skeleton Crew again, or Andor,
vibes,
you know.
Or Andor.
Exactly.
All right, vibes. I love it.
You want to be sad?
Because you watch Skeleton Crew, watch Werewolf by Night and Andor in that order.
No, it kept recommending I think Ahsoka episode 2 for me.
That's
I don't know. It was like you stopped after episode 1, pick it back up, and you're like, no.
Yeah, I was really confused. I was like, I didn't like rewatch episode 1 and then just like stop. So I don't know why it just kept saying episode 2 for me, but I do think it's fun to look at what it recommends for you after every episode you've just watched.
You should really be recommending Treasure Island or the Muppets Treasure.
Yeah.
I still need to watch the Muppets Treasure movie. It's on my list.
Muppets Treasure movie?
Whatever it's called. Is it just Treasure Island, or like what's the
Muppets Treasure Island? Yeah.
I'm not going to wade into this conversation because I have no stake in the Muppets fandom. So
Sarah's a Muppets hater. We don't appreciate that here.
Muppets, I'm not a hater. I'm just a no opinioner.
Muppets is like the only IP. I think I said this the other day. It's like the only IP that can go into all the other ones.
I agree.
Already been in Star Wars. Could do it again. Why haven't we? I don't know. No fun for you.
I hate fun, actually. That's like a core tenet of my person. And that's why I liked this is a terrible transition, but we're working through it. That's why I liked episode 4. Can't say I remember no At Attin.
Can't say I remember no At
Attin.
That's my best.
Although
never again.
There is quite a lot of fun in that episode. So I'm lying about the fun thing. I love fun. But also it's not fun because they go to a different planet that has been essentially decimated, and now they are in small fighting factions among the ruins. And that is an unfortunate situation to be in. But we do get some of my favorite Neel moments, including I'm really good at slap ball with the hands, like legendary iconic. And then him also little sitting crisscross applesauce just like really delighted me. I was just like, I love him. I love him.
He's also a bubble bath taker.
Oh my God.
As a bubble bath girl, I was, and not just once, but twice. We got bubble bath representation. So again, I am not a Neel hater.
Neel got back to At Attin, was like, I know there are pirates like in orbit, but I got to take a bubble bath right now.
Same. I'm the same.
I got to clean my trunk.
Not
okay. Also, but the line in episode 2 where I think it's like Fern's like, somebody tape his trunk, and he goes, I don't talk out of my trunk. I was like, I love him. I love him.
He's just so tired.
Yeah, what a little legend.
Also, doesn't Hannah like grab him by his trunk in that episode as well? Which, by the way, like him getting his first kiss, so cute. And I love that the cannon came back into play in the finale where he's like, I remember there's a cannon on top of the school. I'm going to shoot it. I love that, Neel. I love that for you.
It's just such a cool episode because they're seeing a version of what could be or could have been for their society. And while that's like a very sobering realization for them, it's also very interesting as a viewer to see now like the ruins of the very cool interior of the home. And it was interesting to see this other young person be a leader and be a fighter and be someone who has a totally different life experience to them, but they still get a moment to connect. And I thought that was really lovely as well. And then when we get up to the top of the tower and we're seeing the different planets that are a part of this particular maybe great work, they're all part of the same great work or however that works, and there's got all the coordinates. I thought that was just really interesting, especially considering when we go back in episode 8 and we're up in the tower and we see who's running the planet, which again, Silo. And when we find out that like it's just like this robot or droid or whatever, one that's also like big Wizard of Oz man behind the curtain kind of
very timely.
Yeah and I thought that was so interesting and like eerie, but knowing that there was this open space that has this information and has this beautiful room, but also like in this same area is the supervisor, all the computers, running the supervisor essentially. Very interesting to put all that together. Also, we get kind of an emotional moment from Fern, which I really liked, and she kind of has this moment of vulnerability as she is now this leader and feels like she failed. And then we also get a little bit of a fight between SM33 and our heroes, and I was like, oh, the episode ended right there. No, I have to watch the next one. So it got me good.
You were lucky because you just got to watch them in order, one after the other.
Well, that was actually the one that I watched. Brad was like, Sarah, you have to watch this. And so I was like really into it. And then it ended and I was like, oh, no.
Good job, Brad.
He really goofed it up.
Having shows like Skeleton Crew is so good to like unwire our cameo, like everything's connected pilled brains, where we're just like, oh, okay, so like At Attin, the supervisor, like the Mortis, like gods, and it's all actually Palpatine, one of his like Operation Cinder robot things, and maybe it's a clone. And it's like, nope, just a robot voiced by Stephen Fry. That's all. And I'm like, I love that.
Amazing.
I love that it doesn't have to be this like grand reveal, like pull back the curtain moment, and like, like, oh, it's actually been Thrawn, like, and we just need more things like that to be like, hey, not everything is like a big conspiracy board. Has to be a Screen Rant article thing. Like it can just be not that for once.
I'm writing a Screen Rant article about how the planet is run by a droid.
Yeah.
I'm writing that article to be really, I'm very interested in that. I think that it's really compelling. Actually, it was a big man behind the curtain for me.
But who did you think the supervisor was? Because not to toot my own horn, but I thought I feel really bad that I'm relating this to Marvel again, but Loki season 1 ends with I can't remember anything, to be honest. I just remember really loving it, and
Yes.
there's a
I
big,
know what you're saying.
behind the curtain moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like robots, but not robot. I don't remember what exactly, but it
the
was something
three
like
ancients or whatever, like those three
yeah.
figureheads
I mean,
that
that's
were
what
in
it
the
reminded.
TVA.
Like that's what it reminded me of. So that was my guess the whole time because again, I knew going into the series, which I think a lot of people somehow. I don't think a lot of people were aware that we weren't getting ca- big cameos slash big cliffhanger plot twisty kind of things, and I think it really helped going into the show knowing that because then I could enjoy it and not have to continuously wonder and connect things. Like I don't need everything to connect to Mortis. Like that's why I laugh because I love Mortis, but like I don't want everything to be mythical necessarily. And shame on me maybe for that, but I really love that he's just a computer. Like that's it. The computer.
Like,
I
okay. To
that
answer
was
your
my
question,
guess, and I was very happy.
I'm glad. Because like I will say that I feel like I didn't put a ton of thought into it other than maybe it could have been someone actually outside of the planet. Like somebody from the Republic is kind of keeping the planet under, quote unquote control. But the reason I'm writing the Screen Rant article is like 10 implications of a planet being run by a droid, like.
And it's a thumbnail of like Wim's dad's like beef dish that he eats, and it's like a big circle around, and it's like you'll never guess like what this actually is.
Is that the
and
one?
It's like,
wait, is that the one where he was like nothing like a home cooked meal, and he's like
Yes.
microwaving it, and it's like the most
Yes, yeah.
relatable thing ever because I don't enjoy cooking. I microwave everything basically, so I was just like, I relate so hard to like nice home cooked meal. 3 minutes later, like.
Star Wars cooking show when like Hell's Kitchen or like MasterChef,
Hell's
like
Kitchen. Oh my God, Hell's Kitchen, Star Wars, and then there's like the Gorg that's jumping out of the pot. Like, please,
is it Cake Star Wars edition? And it's like the in-universe characters at the Resistance base making cakes, and you're like, is it a cake or is it actually like Dominic Monaghan's character? I don't know.
Or is it just Beaumont Kid?
Yeah. Oh wait, nope. He just mansplained me. It is definitely Beaumont Kin, and it's not a cake. Cakes don't talk.
Food is is some of the best stuff in Star Wars. So
yeah.
Anyway, back to your Screen Rant article. Sorry.
I hope they're paying me for this. But like, I don't know. I think the fact that it is run by a droid is really interesting, and it kind of speaks to, what were they thinking when they set up these great work? Like, I have a lot of questions about the great work and all these other planets. Like, clearly one of these other planets has, I will say, like, I'll just say fallen, because it's not in that utopia sort of state that At Attin is in. Not that they're explicitly like a utopia, but compared to
dystopia.
Well, yes, but compared to the planet that they went to, they're intact. Everybody's living in their houses. Going to school, doing whatever. But it's also interesting to me that like after you pass your exams, apparently they're going to tell you the secret of At Attin or whatever, because they meant you weren't supposed to know about this until you were older, kind of a thing, which was really interesting to me as well. Like everybody's born into this particular social contract, but they don't know about the actual social contract that they signed until they're like an adult. But then they can't do anything about it.
It's like The Giver. Almost.
Yes. Oh my God, I literally said that. Oh my God.
I had that as well.
I was thinking that, which I think that's why I was thinking about who it could have been so much, because I had my whole dystopia YA several years phase when I was younger. And like reviewing books on my little book blog and stuff. And I was trying to think of like, what does it remind me of the most? Does it remind me maybe of Divergent or like, anything where they're assigning roles? And it really, really reminded me of The Giver. And I think that's why I found that one of the most compelling aspects of the show and would love to see more. How did these come to be? Is it just some crazy guy who's like, I've got a lot of money and I'm going to have these planets that are all for me, or so, I don't know, unless I was
like like if you're the richest person in the world and you say, how can I continue my wealth? And you set up secret mines to build more of your wealth. And it's like, you're
Exactly.
already worth 46 bajillion million dollars. And then you say, but I need more, but I need more because I'm insecure.
I'm not the most attractive, but I'm just rich. You know, that's how it usually goes. So I think maybe
Right.
that is what happened. I would love to know that. I don't need everything answered, but I would love to know why At Attin existed, why all the other At planets existed too.
The other kind of question that I have, just that, or that I had and then was answered within the show was, I didn't think the barrier was real initially. So
Interesting.
I thought the barrier was just told to them like that
Yeah.
so that they wouldn't leave, because it's like if you do leave, you're gonna hit the barrier and you're gonna like explode, and that has enough of a deterrent from people to do it. But the fact that it turns out the barrier was real and is the very specific thing, it's not like, oh, it's just not in the archives, it doesn't exist sort of a vibe. We can't get to it because it's not in the archives, it doesn't exist. It's like, oh no, it's a little like Planet X in the sense that like it's really hard to actually get there because there is something physically stopping people. And I thought that it was really interesting that it was real. And I don't know if I have much more commentary than that, but that was a fascinating realization to me.
Well, hey, now that we've kind of uncovered the pearl inside the oyster, so to speak, and At Attin has 1,138 more vaults, 1138. Love that.
Oh yeah.
Wink. I heard a theory, and I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are. But like the theory that these vaults are part of what funds the First Order. Which, like, I know we're talking about like, hey, everything doesn't have to be connected,
That's
but
dark.
like, I actually am like kind of
Oh.
buying that a little bit of like, oh, like of course, maybe the First Order or the early stages of it, the Huxes of the galaxy, like get their hands on some of this.
Brendel.
Because I mean, like the Republic shows up, so obviously it's going to be a known thing that like, hey, like At Attin is real, and like it's full of vaults, full of old Republic credits, like of course, and we know the First Order has to build up and fund itself. So I'm just like, there's still going to be stuff connected to this somehow. Like that's just like the Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau of it all. And I'm like, hey, if we have a Thrawn movie coming out, like maybe that's the connective tissue there with like At Attin and just like the wealth that one could accumulate from it. So it's just kind of interesting. I don't know.
Well,
if you guys have any
I'm
thoughts.
okay with tying back to the sequel trilogy because we didn't get that after the sequel trilogy. And that's why I'm like a fan of let's continue the stories on our screens, books, whatever, because they really didn't want to touch it. So if it ties back to the First Order, I'm perfectly okay with that. I did not see that theory though. I saw that someone was like, goes to the New Republic and that's that. I was like, I'm not thinking about this further. You're correct. So that's interesting because yeah, they were pretty wealthy, weren't they?
Yeah, like how did they
wealthy
create
people
all
make
those
planets
new...
explode.
Yeah, yeah, they made another Death Star. Of course, they need money.
Yeah,
That
good
costs
point.
money. Yeah. I don't know, Sarah. What about you? What do you think?
I don't know if I buy that theory entirely, but like one of the questions that I do walk away with the series from is like, okay, now the barrier is down, and at least Jod knows where it is. We assume that he lives. We assume that he lives on. Whether that be, hey, there's rumors of a Jod show or whatever. But like, some people now know where this place is. How do they continue on peacefully? How do they continue on living their lives? Do they continue on living their lives? So that's a big question I have. And somebody's going to be using that money, certainly. I don't know. It feels like the Empire was like, hey, we're paying you a little bit too, because like people would join the Empire and they would have some stable work, it seemed. The First Order feels a lot less like that. So I don't know if they're paying people. So I don't know if they need money for payroll is my point. And if you're not paying the people you're subjecting, then you can save a lot of cash. not good ethically, but I mean, like, they weren't good ethically in the first place. But yeah, it seems like they need money to build stuff, but I don't know if they're actually
And like
using that
clothes
money.
and training and stuff. Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, you gotta
brainwashing.
right. Well, you gotta put some infrastructure in. They're doing a lot of infrastructure as they build Starkiller Base into Ilum. Like that was a major work. That was a big deal. That was a lot of cash. So I mean, but did that come from At Attin? I hope not, because it signals poorly for the people of At Attin. I feel like, you know, Palpatine's back and he's objectively worse than before. So, and Snoke is kind of a piece of shit. So, I'd hope it's not true.
I always feel like there's some sort of like hidden tragedy built into these happy endings. Like the Bad Batch season 3 is like, yes,
good job,
we
Brad.
blew up Mount Tantus, and then Tarkin comes in and is like, please redirect all resources to Project Stardust, and you're like, God damn it, can't have anything nice, you know?
No,
and so
but
I'm
stop
like,
at the end of Resistance. They all hug and it's over, and they all hug and it's fine. Everything's fine at the end of Resistance.
Resistance is the exception. Yeah.
They all hug.
And we kind of know how Andor ends, so it's like sad. I mean, we already
escapes
know.
Narkina 5. Oh, they were building the Death Star there. God damn it.
Oh,
you know,
he's gonna be in this situation. Oh, he dies by the Death Star.
He's literally building the weapon that kills him. Are you kidding me?
I meant season 2. Like, we know he'll live, but
through
for a
season
little bit,
2
for a couple days after the show ends.
Literally a couple days. Jesus,
just
not
a little
even
bit.
Like 18 hours. I don't even know.
Oh God,
I hate that I've had a nice moment here with Skeleton Crew. I desperately do want to see a season 2 of Andor, but like I'm also emotionally very fragile in this moment.
Hey, so like what if we pivoted away from the nice warm fuzzy feeling of Skeleton Crew and into the fight against fascism, like both in our fiction and in our real lives? How fun. Oh, and the Mask of Fear. I love it. I love everything going on. It's
I'm here to bring it back to capitalism too. I want to know where the money goes. So fair.
Where is the money going?
Oh my God.
Well, it's interesting to think about though. It's more that I would love to know, because it's like, who's the governing body here? Are they going to be allowed to exist on their own? What happens to a society that has been cut off from the rest of the world and is now exposed to like different diseases, but also, you know, are they part of the public? I don't know. Like, what do you just, especially because the person running it, not a person, a computer, is also gone. So who was going to be in charge anyway? You know, it's super interesting. Like, I would love to know. It's super interesting aspect that I'm scared that we'll never know more about. So it's nice to just kind of like hope that we'll get maybe an art of book eventually or something like that. But my hopes are a little low. Brad really brought my energy down. So now I'm like sad.
I'm
you
so
really
sorry.
goofed it up here on the episode. You really goofed it up.
I'm just really goofed up.
We're
the vibe.
all suffering and feeling. I came here to this episode to escape the crushing,
frenemies of the
emotional.
Force now. This is frenemies of the Force.
The friendship theme is gone.
It's alone in the Force. It's just
Jesus.
Brad.
Oh no, who's gonna edit the episode now?
Unedited. No, it just goes up unedited. But I don't know the password, so it's not going up. I mean, I do know the password.
You have logged out and you have not asked the password again. That's a you problem. I'm gonna call you out. Guess who sent you the Spotify link to make your own login?
I don't like Spotify.
Guess which Spotify login expired? It was yours. Anyway,
twice. It happened twice.
Twice.
I don't like Spotify. Twice. That's why.
Yeah.
I also want to be clear that I did come to record this podcast to escape the emotional crushing weight of the day. So the fact that I like literally was looking at work and was like, I'm closing the laptop and taking a nap, and we'll get back to this later. And and you got to bring it all back to the crushing weight of
bring it all back.
Everything terrible. And so
bada bing, bada boom.
Considering we're just gonna be talking about this for the next few months, you couldn't let us have this one moment, Brad.
Yeah.
So,
Well, anyways,
offers
so
no
maybe
apologies
the last question
there.
I should ask each of you is, how do you hope the story continues, and do you need it to continue?
okay, I want answers about everything about At Attin. I need to just know all the things. I'm so fascinated by this idea of the great work. I'm so fascinated by the idea of the mint. I'm so fascinated by the idea of the planet and its seclusion. I'm fascinated about the society. Maybe it's because I've been engaging with a lot of like revolutionary science fiction made for adults recently, whether it be Silo or I got back into the Expanse series recently. And so I'm thinking a lot about dystopia and revolution and societal structures. So I really am curious to know what happened to At Attin, like how we got here and how we go from here. I also just want the kiddos to be okay. I want these are precious babies that I want nothing bad to happen to them. And I would love to see the series continue if it's just like a day in my life and it's like I'm Neel and I take a bubble bath and then I hang out with my little brother and then I go to school. Like that's what I want. Sporky asked a question, please. Like that's how I want this story continued. Thank you. I'm getting off of my step stool now. Anybody else? I will hand the step stool to you to stand on to say your piece.
I mean, you already know how I feel. I mean, I basically already said it. So again, way to go, Brad. But same, everything Sarah said. Really want to know about At Attin. Again, I would love to see the kids grown up. I think we might maybe some sort of encyclopedia entry eventually, some sort of timelines entry eventually. We'll learn more about At Attin. I am confident that the kids would be okay and that Lucasfilm looks kindly on these characters because they were handled with so much care, and I felt like thought, and they really, really did their work for writing these, kid characters, because some of it felt extremely like that's a kid, not an actor. That's like a kid, or it's not an adult writing a kid. It's a kid being a kid. I don't know. It like some of it felt very much like took me back to like when I was a preschool teacher. I was just like, that's how a kid would react. That is spot on. Whether or not it was
I call
intentional.
Claimsies.
I hope
Like
Right.
there was some of it that I was like, this is super, super spot on. 10 out of 10, which is probably another reason why I really enjoyed watching the show. But I think that they'll be okay. I could see them all doing maybe not necessarily meaningful work, all of them, but leading, that they're not going to have like a tragic ending. I just can't see that ever being plausible for any of them. This is the show with the moms, so more moms.
You're
Yeah.
right. You're right.
More
Yeah,
moms.
Points
Star Wars
made.
moms can make it, so can the kiddos.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I'm
Would
with
love
you.
to see anything. I would be happy to get any sort of little tidbits in the future, and I hope that they do that, even if it's just
Yeah.
like on the website or something.
Mm-hmm.
No, totally. I would love to see, in some capacity. And if not, I think it was a really nice self-contained show. But I think most importantly, physical
good point.
media, baby. Give me the 4K with the behind the scenes featurettes. I want it. I want it so bad.
Yeah. A blooper reel.
So yeah.
There was also like on
Oh,
Disney
yeah.
Plus, it said a special look, and I clicked on it as we were recording this because I'm like, oh, maybe there's a behind the scenes tidbit that I can find. It's 3 minutes long. So
Yeah,
why
it
are
was
you
like
putting this
before
as
the
a
show
whole-
came out, I think, right?
It was like just recommending it to me because I just kind of picked up the show. But I was like, wait a second, why is this a whole tile in my thing when this should just be under like extras for Skeleton Crew?
Yeah.
And I also want 10 more of them.
Brad's right though. I would love to get physical copies of pretty much, I mean, every show, like especially ones like Acolyte and Skeleton Crew and Obi-Wan. I think are some of the big ones for me that I would it's the question is, would you purchase Skeleton Crew on a VHS or DVD? And the answer is yes, preferably VHS. I want to go back.
Real.
So
Mhm.
Oh my god, if they did a VHS release, like that'd be so like it wouldn't make any
They
sense, but I'm
should've.
like, I love it.
no,
If
they
you really
should have.
wanna
This is
lean
the
into
show
it.
for it.
Yeah,
They absolutely should have done it. Oh well.
totally. Alrighty. Well, we hit the 1.5 hour mark, which
That's
is
the-
well over when we thought we would be recording for. Molly,
Oopsies.
I talk a lot.
thank
Sorry.
you. No, this is wonderful. I hope you had a good time with us. I enjoyed it. I enjoed it despite
Of course.
the weight the crushing weight of reality that I brought on us in the last 10 minutes.
Boo.
Y'all are my favorite. That's why I was
Yeah.
demanding to come back, and I had a blast. This is, again, pretty much the only podcast that I'm like, yes, I absolutely would love to join y'all, because y'all are so much fun. I
Thank you.
made my week. So
And we love
maybe Brad,
you.
you brought everyone down, Brad, but for me, I feel lifted up. So
She is friend of the force again, reimagined, renewed.
At the end of the day, we've all gone, as I said, kind of at the outset, we've gone on an adventure. We had a conversation that we didn't know where it was going to take us.
Yeah.
And now we're
Yeah.
here at the end of it, getting to reminisce together about the conversation we just had. And is that not a beautiful thing? Do we not
It
love
really
friendship?
is.
it's like Lucasfilm
It really
wrote
is.
it. Yeah.
Wow.
We came
Thank you,
into
Story
this
Group.
episode. We came into this episode with turbulence through the barrier. We got to Skull Ridge Mountain. We dipped our toes and our bodies into the spa. We started
I
rubbing
wish.
we started rubbing the mud masks on our face, and we sat back next to Plagueis and just enjoyed the show. It was just a good time.
No Plague. None of that. None of that.
Just a random mon.
Plagueis got a little weird in the hot tub. He started talking about like prophecies and shit. And we were like, we're out here, bro. Like,
He's a
we can't
creeper.
listen to it.
I would believe it.
He's like, hey, I got this
literally-
rule of 2, and I'm missing the second. I saw your vibe from across the mud,
No, it's-
the mud tub.
I've got a rule
From
of
a-
2, but it could be a rule of 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So.
I really
Oh
dig
my
your vibe. You want to be my
God.
apprentice? And we're like, we're leaving. So anyways, it
Be
got
like, that's
really
not-
weird.
That's not
Actually,
no.
why the Acolyte got canceled. Plagueis was really problematic behind the scenes, and we didn't need that in our life.
No.
Yeah. God damn it, Plagueis. Can't have nice things because of you.
Oh my
Truly.
god! Oh my god!
Anyways,
Stop.
No.
We gotta
Things
quit
getting
while we're
weird.
ahead.
yeah, no.
No,
let's-
I
let's-
appreciate
let's,
y'all. That was great. And there's no one else I could spend that long chatting with. You guys have been
Oh.
talking to me for like over 2 hours. So apologies.
No,
I
we
am a
love you.
chatterbox, so I know that. But
So
that was
are
a lot of
we.
fun.
So are we, and we're like always happy to have you on. So I'm glad we can make it happen.
We hope to have you back for a third time at some point. But thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Where can people find you?
Good luck. Sometimes I'm on Twitter at Darth Mollie, Maullie, but I encourage you to find me on Blue Sky, where the skies are bluer, at just Mollie, Maullie.
Ooh, I switched it up on Blue Sky as well. I'm Kazrath over there.
And the
Not gonna
Darth was
use
like,
it.
I sign all my artwork as Mollie, so I was like, this feels. I was like, finally, one platform where no one took that name yet, because it's on. I don't get to have it on Instagram either. So I was like, finally, it's mine. So, and then I had to take the Darth Mollie handle so that I could redirect people.
Nice.
Molly, once again, thanks for joining. Hope to have you back a third time. Listener, thank you for listening to this episode of Skeleton Crew. Chat Attin about it. If you see what I did there. Chat Attin. But you can find us on all of our socials that still exist, which are pretty much just Blue Sky and Instagram. We are on Twitter, but we don't use it. And make sure to follow the pod wherever you listen. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, I think maybe somewhere.
Yeah,
Google
I'm there.
Podcasts. You name it. We're everywhere. Go follow us. Hit us up.
That's right.
Sarah, what you got for the listener?
Lots of things are happening in the world. Please be taking care of yourself. I'm finding myself struggling day to day, but drinking enough water, making sure that I take breaks from social media. These are all really important things that I hope you're doing as well. I also hope you are staying safe and healthy. But thank you, an extra special thank you to our patrons who help make the show happen genuinely. So thank you to Brian, Ben, Cheryl, Clay, Comment, David, Emma, Jennifer, Katie, Knights of Ren, Krista, Logan, Lucy, Lindsay, Matthew, Nicole, Rob, Ruth, Santa, Soulcatcher, Sky Talkers, Tom, Travis, and our newest patrons, Jules, Viglyph, and Andy. Thank you all so very much for your support. And to anyone who has taken the time to listen to us chat about Skeleton Crew. We are so grateful that you decided to join us, and we hope you see you on our next adventure on this podcast being very soon.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, everybody, once again. And until next time, may the force be with you always.
Bye.